Hi, Penguin.
Okay, you.
Yeah.
This is the first episode of starting a podcast of what the fuck is the name of it again? Finding our words.
Yeah, that's we need to find our words.
It's a fucking.
I
It's a.
I, I had it's prophetic.
It's a very
I
appropriate name.
yeah, because I had actually forgotten the name in between when you started the sentence and
Oh
um
no. Well,
hi,
we'll
Penguin.
we'll remember it eventually. We are joined here by our furry special guest, a very cute penguin who is a cat.
She's not like Dazzle who speaks all her words.
Have you ever had a cat that okay, so not my first cat, but very young. I had a Japanese bobtail because we lived in Japan, named Timmy, and he was basically like a dog in cat form.
So you're from New York is what I'm taking.
Yeah, well, sort of. Okay, so my parents are from New York, and then at some point my dad joined the Air Force, and then this accent happened.
And then you get to go, yeah, okay. Yeah, I get it. No, you throw out dog.
A dog.
My ninth, 11th, and 12th grade English teacher was from New York, and she spent a lot of time trying to hide that fact.
What? Why?
Draw. I don't really
That's
know
so sad.
because none of us, she said drawer, like draw. Yeah. I don't know. It was no one else, I don't hear Southern people giving up their accent when they come up north. Of course, Virginia's sort of in the South,
That always got me.
sort of.
Like the South is basically two-thirds of the entire East Coast.
Yeah. I actually don't encounter the Southern accent. For how much people say Virginia's in the South, I don't encounter the Southern accent in the northern part of Virginia, which probably makes sense. It's closer to the north. Like a year ago, I had to drive someone I worked Lyft and Uber for a while, and I took that as an opportunity to kind of explore Virginia. I've only lived here for it'll be almost 3 years, and so my familiarity with the area is now great, but had to explore it. And normally, you don't take long, crazy rides to Roanoke because it's 8 hours, and I
Wait,
mean, most is
oh
yeah,
sorry. Is that the Roanoke or is that one of the ones that's just named after it?
that is the Roanoke.
Oh shit.
Roanoke. Yeah, it was interesting. Around here, the Dulles International gets a good chunk of the when there's a snowstorm in the East Coast, it doesn't snow here. And so the flights get directed here, and then people get stuck here overnight. And so that some people have a lot of money and throw hundreds of dollars at drivers to take them to their destination
Oh my God.
instead of waiting.
I gotta punch in here because like one of the dudes that I used to work with, this is like fucking jobs and jobs ago. Um, I used to work in various kinds of hospitals or whatever, not clinical, just admin. But one of the like super high up dudes who was running the research trial, clinical, whatever that I was in, so like a surgeon, basically, like doctor-y kind of person. He literally just
Uh-huh.
dropped a couple hundred to get from like the East Midlands to frickin' Wales in a taxi. Like,
Mhm.
sorry, yeah, just the amount of money
Yeah,
that floats around. Wow.
it's I won't do that going north. Well, I mean, I can't do that anymore. But going south, it's awesome because going south, you don't have to go up to New York, and that's just,
Hey,
you know. Well, it take New York is closer, but it takes just as long to get up there than it does to go south anywhere. And I got paid on mileage, so I made like because on my first night doing Lyft, I accepted a ride to New Jersey, not knowing it was going to New Jersey
yeah,
at the
why would you
time.
accept otherwise?
Until I had,
Sorry.
well, yeah, well, at the time they didn't tell us. They just threw out rides for fun, and I was like, okay. I got to I had the guy in my car, and I was a mile away from where I picked him up before I knew I was going to New Jersey. Um, that's a long. It's a great. That's one of my favorite stories, and I'll save it for later because it's, we were detracting from uh three other stories.
Yeah, I
Um,
forget how many tracks we're in now.
there are a lot better ways to get to New Jersey than taking a lift. I'll tell you that. There is a commuter bus that goes to from DC to New Jersey. That's like $300 less.
Is that a while?
It's no, it's as long.
Okay, yeah, so it's
It's considerably more complicated.
uh
I think the guy that I drove, he was he was not familiar with the area. I don't know if he spoke a lot of English, so it would have been really difficult there was a huge language barrier between the two of us. And so I think his friends sent him on a lift because if they had sent him there was no flights out that night, and throwing him on a bus might have, they might have lost him.
yeah.
So understandable, never doing it again. But I don't know how we got from cats to that. Hi, Penguin.
Oh, okay, actually, Penguin popping in. She's gonna like be our mascot and like remind us of like, hey, you talk about cats. At least like this first episode. I don't know. I assume we're not gonna be all about cats.
Ah, hi, Penguin. Yeah, she's staring. She's one thing I learned with Dazzle upstairs. When I talk to Dazzle almost the same way I talk to Penguin. And so Penguin thinks that I also call her Dazzle because we keep the two of them separate because Penguin and I don't know why I raise cats that don't like other cats. Why, Penguin? I ask you. But Penguin and Dazzle have never gotten along, and so they kind of we have a me and Penguin are in the basement, Dazzle's upstairs. And so sometimes Penguin comes upstairs with me, but most of the time I'll go upstairs alone. And eventually Penguin will wander up to the top of the stairs and just sit behind the door waiting for me. Partially to wait for me, partially to annoy Dazzle.
Yeah, because they can smell each other through the door.
Yeah, well there's a cat door
Oh,
there as well that's locked.
oh, right.
The Dazzle used to be able to come downstairs, but we permanently locked that. Well, permanently. It'll probably be unlocked soon. Dazzle, she hasn't done it in a while, but Dazzle used to just sit at the top of the stairs, glaring down through the door, and Penguin would be facing away from the door, just with a look of uncaring, deep uncaring that there was an angry Dazzle right behind her. Huh? You like hunting tuxedo cats?
Oh, I've heard things about tuxedos. I've heard things about oranges,
Yeah.
gingers.
Dazzle's not the first tuxedo. Tuxedos are Penguin's arch nemesis. Back in my second family cat was Archimedes,
Oh, that's an awesome name.
who was also he was also a tuxedo cat. He ruled the neighborhood.
Oh,
He was a menace to all indoors. He loved and cars. He liked to get in cars.
wait, me?
Um, and if you left your window down and you were in in the general proximity of parents' home, there's a good chance Archimedes probably went in your car.
Fair enough.
Um, we see the thing is we didn't know this. We had no idea that he was doing this for the longest time until one day, on the rare occasions when we'd had to have a visitor, the guy was driving away and Archimedes was, nice fast asleep in the car. And, suddenly this car's moving and black and white unknown animal in an area with
Oh
skunks.
boy. Oh,
And and he thought that Archimedes was a skunk, and Archimedes had no idea what was going on, and
maybe.
but he got out.
Well, I mean,
But
if he was a terror, he was probably okay, right? Like he found his way back.
oh yeah. Oh yeah, the only time he never went far. If he was lost, we knew where he was. He was in the garage. That was the worst thing he would do. Because my parents have a detached garage that he loved to death to go into, and you can't hear cats meowing in our detached garage. And when he was about a year old, he got into the basement of the garage back when,
Wait, why did
well, the my it was my grandpa built the garage, and it was basically a three-story
it's
garage.
a house?
It was a garage with, well, it was more like there was a garage, a regular garage on top, and kind of a workshop on beneath it. But yes,
Wait, were there two
yes,
basements? Oh no, was it on a
yeah,
hill?
yes,
Oh god, okay, right.
yeah. It was 19. My grandparents bought the property and built in the 60s when there was nothing there. They were able to get a lot of land to build on. So, yes, it is essentially the size of a house. I have been in smaller houses than that garage,
Yeah.
but he used the basement as a workshop up until he was like 90. And one day he left the door open while he was using it. Archimedes got in. No, he had no idea and got trapped in there for a couple days.
Is it
That's when what?
I mean, if he was basically if mice could get in or whatever, he could at least like eat those. I don't know.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Oh, there was definitely mice in there, especially at that time when there was a lot of leftover stuff from like the 70s and 80s, shelter type stuff.
Hmm.
So my grandpa had a lot of grain, for example, that had been sitting there for decades.
Can cats eat grain?
No, but rats can eat grain.
Ah, right.
And so,
Just very basic fucking like Neolithic logic there. I'm just like, oh yeah, what?
yeah, no.
Like with the early humans, the
Mhm.
like the whole thing of like they once agriculture happened, they like could then make more food than people needed, so then they needed somewhere to store it. But
Mhm.
then rodents found it, and then
Yes.
they were like, oh hey, cats eat the rodents. Great.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly what my yard was. We were a Neolithic set of humans. We didn't.
Where was your henge?
Oh, where's my hinge? Well, knowing my grandpa, there was probably at least one at some point. Based on
Okay,
this,
I wasn't
no, no,
I wasn't expecting that.
my grandpa did a lot of. I'm gonna have to. That's one of the great things about going back to my hometown is my parents' house is I'm gonna find out what my grandpa did because he would regularly,
Where do you hide the bodies?
yeah,
Wait, no, that's a bit more of a pause than I was expecting. Oh no.
well, no, if he had buried bodies, someone would have definitely found them.
This is
There was definitely no privacy, and my dad was seven of nine children.
really.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, so not just
Not just a Borg. No.
Jerry, whatever her name is.
Jerry Ryan. No. Yes, that joke definitely did come up in the 90s.
Oh, whoops. Okay, yeah.
But no. If and if my grandpa had time to bury bodies, I don't know where he found it with nine children and
Wait. Sorry, was he the seventh?
no, my dad was the seventh child.
Right. Okay.
My grandpa may have also been the seventh child. I'll have to check on that
Wait,
one.
no, that makes your dad a sorcerer.
That could be too. I'll ask him.
If he's a sorcerer,
I'll see if I can find his wizard's hat, his or sorcerer's hat.
you could just try summoning fire, and that would probably answer it.
Hmm. Well, he does have a fireplace.
Oh, so do we.
Two of them.
Oh wait, shit. Sorry. Yeah, because I live in the UK. I'm used to like tiny houses now. Not this one, but there are some houses here that I swear to God they have a fireplace in like every room. There's probably some that have fireplace in the bathroom now I think about it.
Well, we don't use our fireplace for, it's another leftover from nuclear Holocaust prep from the 70s and 80s.
How would the fireplace help with
Yeah.
that?
No idea. Well, it would provide heat in the event that they had no electricity.
Sure, but it's also a giant hole in your house that would let lots of fallout in,
Yeah,
be radioactive, and then pile up at
yeah,
the bottom of the chimney.
Well, yeah, especially since, it's 5 miles away from an Air Force base too. So, I mean, it's a little far away from the coast, so it's not the first target, but actually it's an interesting thing to research what nuclear fallout would do in the middle of my hometown because it's surrounded by mountains and it causes weird weather.
If it causes
It's okay.
like strong winds or anything like that, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
If it caused,
Yes, it does.
okay, then yeah, it probably wouldn't
Yes.
settle. So the chimney probably still not great, but something.
It'd be like Z for Zachariah. I don't know if you've ever read that book.
Never heard of it.
It's a story of a nuclear holocaust where basically that situation happened where everywhere else was destroyed, but this one area surrounded by, hilly areas was mostly protected.
Okay, so Everest is gonna be fine.
Yes. Yes. Nepal, parts of China, yeah,
Shit, that's a point. What if you
India.
drop like a small nuke on like a giant ice mountain thing? It doesn't even need to be a nuke. It could be
Hmm.
like anything with sufficient kinetic energy to like heat up the atmosphere and then wherever it landed. Sorry, yeah, physics background. I'm a fucking
Yeah.
nerd. I was not very good at the physics, but I still think in terms of like, what if this? What if that? And then I would like piss off my mom massively because I'd be like, well, what if a unicorn just fell onto the front of the car right now? And eventually she was just like, no more what if questions. I'm done. I was just like, all right, but what if? Just do a very ancient aliens thing. I swear to God. Sorry, I've got whatchamacallit, the other podcast on the brain. It's probably not aliens. They're part of the inspiration of, hey, I want to do a podcast. I love this. And I've already stolen multiple ideas from this, including the fucking whatever the hell this rambling intro is. It is not about cats on the internet. We'll work it out. This
It is the most appropriate intro I could imagine my personal self ever being involved in.
okay, fantastic.
It is a sub conversation of a sub conversation.
Yeah.
It is my life.
Oh, have you heard the term a UHD?
Oh yeah, autism,
Yeah,
ADHD.
because
Yeah.
then it's like high definition gold, but it's also just way shorter
Mm-hmm.
than saying both.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I
Huh?
have to ask,
Penguin.
if you play
My,
cute videos of cats for Dazzle or Penguin, do they have like a favorite?
do they have a favorite? Dazzle does. Dazzle loves squirrel videos. When everybody's gone, because my sister doesn't like Dazzle playing with the TV
I
much.
imagine their claws are not very good with the screen kind of
The
thing.
the claws are not very good for the screen because, and believe me, they do try. There's also, you learn that there's little teeny tiny areas in between the screen part and the edges of the screen that cat's claws can get into. But back to Dazzle. So one of my jobs here was to help take care of the house when everybody was gone, and to entertain Dazzle while everybody was gone, I would put on bird videos. And I eventually narrowed it down. She loved the bird videos, but I eventually realized that she would chirp more when there were squirrels on the screen. Even if the squirrels weren't, the squirrels will sometimes make, their own little chirping noises, but it's not very loud. She just loved to watch the squirrels run around and eat all those pistachios and hazelnuts. And I one time left the room very briefly with the chair too close to the TV, and I come back and she is practically hugging the TV, trying to get the squirrel.
I've not had that, but I have had them like, God, how do I even explain this? Okay, so once in Japan, our on-base housing was like in a tower, so it was like a small apartment. Uh, Early 2000s, so like 2002-ish, I think. My parents had a big wooden desk thing, and there'd be like wood curtains or something that would like roll down from the top and then cover the next bit because this was during a time when the screens were 3D,
Mhm.
a big triangular boxy kind of shape. So the cats at the time, Marcus and Timmy, absolutely adorable. Timmy was the bobtail, and Marcus was just a very angry ginger. Well, whichever one it was, one of them would sit on top of the screen, but because it was so smushed up against the top, you couldn't see. And there would occasionally just be like this random tiny paw that would just come out and be like, I'm sure they couldn't see the screen, but they would also bat where the mouse was on the screen. So maybe they could like see a reflection or something. You had to be careful, like whenever you had to close the wood curtain rolly thing, make sure there isn't a cat in there, or you would hear yowling and they might pee.
Oh, oh, I love it.
Don't tell anyone though, because we were in a no pets tower
Oh,
as opposed to the completely identical pets allowed tower on the other side of base for some fucking reason that we didn't live in, allegedly.
yeah, I like those rules. I definitely know people who have followed those rules exactly as strictly as possible. Not on military bases.
It's almost like, yeah, well, just rules in general. It's like I don't mind if it's a reasonable one, like I don't know, washing your hands and wearing a surgical mask before you operate on someone. Totally reasonable.
Mm.
You get it. It's for an infection and also like, contamination and you don't want to get whatever they might have growing in them. Whatever. Makes sense. But just here is a place and it's like they could just be like, oi, if you want to have pets, you need to pay £200 dollars for a super thorough like pet dander clean where they get in with the carpets or whatever. So someone who comes in with like a super severe allergy would not die walking in kind of
Yeah.
thing. That'd be
Yeah.
reasonable. Well, expensive, but
I'm going to quickly say my penguin part of.
yeah.
I'm going to see if I can fit this in 7 minutes. Very hard. Um, Penguin, she likes chasing the mouse cursor, but she doesn't like watching videos. What she does like is she likes the call of the black-billed magpie.
That's specific.
Black-billed magpies are native to my hometown, and they happen to nest in my neighborhood. They also happen to love my cats. Magpies, I don't know if how much you know about magpies, but they're like crows and other magpies. They're pretty smart. They know when an animal is going to be hostile. They remember when an animal's hostile to them, and they will either avoid them or attack them. But if they like them, they're not overtly hostile. Back to Archimedes. Archimedes, you could always find him outside because you would hear the magpies cawing like crazy somewhere in the yard, and there would be Archimedes looking 1,000 yard stare away from a magpie that's 2 feet away from him, teasing him like crazy.
So, I mean, so did
Archimedes would never do anything, but
okay.
that's basically what Penguin grew up on for bird calls is magpies. It drowned out every single other. I don't remember what other birds there were, but there were several, but it was only magpies she heard, and they would fly around the yard, and she would chase them around. The basement I had, and I'm going back to, had windows, 6 windows on the north and west side of the house. And so she could essentially run from across 4 of the windows in one room and then run to the next room over and watch as the bird flew around the house to the west side of the house. But when we moved here, I wanted to see if she would still respond to magpie calls, which are hard to find. Were hard to find. And she did. The second I put on the magpie call, she started searching my room for the magpie that had somehow gotten inside. Ah, anyway.
How old is she?
11. She turned 11 last month, April 5th.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a cute age. Our last kitty we got her at the beginning of pandemic. Okay, so I say that we got her February 1st, 2020, like around then, because that's around when we moved in. We didn't know at the time that our kidneys were already failing, so we only had her for 6 months, but she was so friggin' adorable and very like, imagine like a polite old lady, but she's a cat. Like just sweet.
Penguin, you're not a polite old lady.
What? Oh, okay, so is she a raucous,
Oh, yeah.
rocker chick?
Yeah. My hand is a testament to her very serious need to party.
Did you get a glove?
She does not like gloves.
Yeah, but you like your hand,
Oh,
so
I love my hand. I also don't want her peeing on my bed.
yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
She's actually scared of anytime I try to put on I have a welder's glove that I got for baking because it could,
What kind of
you can handle basically anything because it can handle up to 1500 degrees.
yeah, that's some pretty hardcore baking.
It has finger holes. You have access to your fingers, unlike regular oven mitts.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
I haven't been able to use them lately for their intended purpose, so I attempted to play with Penguin with using them, and she was not a fan. She'll immediately stop.